Hello, and welcome back to the case files of four Sherlock Holmes and a vampire who is also one of the aforementioned vampires. We've shaken up our Sherlock Holmes a little bit, and we're ready to start our second case file. Before we do, we actually have a shocking revelation. Turns out there was an extra vampire in the previous game. Which can happen. It's every player rolls a d6, and if you get a 6, you are a vampire. But because one of our vampires was not uncovered, it means everyone has to roll an extra suspicious quirk for the next game, which means we are twice as suspicious as we previously were. So that's fun. The second vampire was Chris, in case you wanted it. You were curious. So yeah, that's fantastic. So I am John, in case you were joining us for the second half of the video, but you didn't watch the first. I'm John. We're playing 4 Sherlock Holmes and a vampire who's also one of the aforementioned vampires. I will be playing Sherlock Holmes. We don't have to do the entire bit all over again, but Chris, hi. Welcome back.
So, one, I got away with it. Ha 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 ha, maniacal laughter. For this round, I will be playing Lieutenant Commander Data from Star Trek The Next Generation, who is in the holodeck playing Sherlock Holmes, but is probably also trying to track down a sentient version of Moriarty due to a programming glitch, which is probably going to cause all kinds of problems later on after we finish the game.
Do you also have to hold up the Prime Directive, or does that not apply to holograms?
It's hologram time, yeah. I might disable safety protocols if things get spicy.
Ooh, fantastic. We also have Jonny. Hello, Jonny. Are you still Sherlock Holmes?
I am still Sherlock Holmes. However, I'm a much more uptight version of Sherlock Holmes, as can be seen by my top button now being done up. The previous Sherlock Holmes I was playing was too young to have yet become in any way sort of arrogant or oversure of his capabilities. That is not true for the Sherlock that I will be playing in this adventure.
Fantastic. And in case there is any doubt, I'm no longer a mouse. So, that's it.
You never can tell.
No. And as for our final player for this case file, we are joined by Justin. Justin, who are you playing?
I'm not Watson. I'm definitely not Watson, who has been put into the situation because Sherlock Holmes can't be asked and is going to smoke a lot of opium.
Fantastic. So, our murder scene from our hat of patron suggestions, check out our Patreon below, is... Oh, it's a classic. We have a dinner party. Absolutely cannot see that. Which I think may have been suggested by Wendelius. So it is... Oh, no, that was Night Bites. Thank you, Night Bites. So let's go for an old manor house. Candlelit dinner. Guests, each one more famous and expensive than the last. And a large, intimidating portrait of a very severe-looking man, an oil portrait over the mantelpiece of the fireplace at the end of the banquet table. And for Chris, a number 5. Which is the same as last time.
Yeah, I think at this stage we've got to, in an exceptionally ornate kind of librarette, a small library in kind of enclosed cabinets with glass doors, are beautifully leather bound versions, probably dating all the way back to the 1920s, continuous, of various periodical books of adult literature. The very, very worst kind imaginable. Like someone found a way to get Mills and Boon to do a leather-bound edition. This is clearly a very niche collection and presented in such a way that it looks like if there was a fire to break out, the owners would scramble to save the books before they would try and save their own children. So let's see what I get on the old diceometer. Ooh, I got a 4. That's up for you, Jonny.
Okay, so the options here for those who can't see are too much potpourri or a shrine to a celebrity. So adorning the dining table between each sort of set of chairs that are facing each other is a salad bowl sized selection of potpourri piled high. Some of them are kind of falling off the sides because the piles are sort of slumping, and the entire room just reeks of potpourri. On top of the fireplace, there are 3, sort of one right in the center and one at either end, smaller bowls of potpourri. The room just reeks of like eye-watering levels of potpourri.
Fantastic. Justin, it is
Yes.
now your place to describe the crime itself and how it fits into the scene.
So, in this scene, there is a body of a man in the doorway of the room. Hanging from the doorway is a bucket on a string full of paint. On the floor, there is patches of tar, Lego bricks, and nails that have been nailed to like pieces of wood and sticking up. The man's trousers are burnt, his clothes torn. He has bruises on his face, maybe a print of an iron on the side of it. And throughout the house is a Home Alone style series of traps that this poor individual has wandered through before eventually meeting his demise by, as I said, the large bucket of paint that has swung down from the doorframe. He's covered in this paint, and for some unknown reason, his trousers have slipped down, and he really is in a state of disembowelment, and yeah. Although nothing, I would say, nothing untoward or sexual appears to be occurring in this scene.
No, it's all
Otherwise,
PG-13, right?
It's all PG-13. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a corpse, burnt, singed, bruised corpse covered in paint. We have a fancy collection of adult novels in the corner in a glass-fronted cabinet, and we have far too much potpourri. At the end of the room, the door opens, and a man in a tweed jacket and filthy deerstalker walks into the room. Somehow, in its immediacy, his smell overwhelming even the smell of too much potpourri, and he goes, "Bleh! What's this? It's murder! It's a murder!" And stumbles over to the corpse, mostly to rifle through its pockets and see if it has anything valuable.
At a kind of empty-ish area of the room, suddenly out of thin air, a Starfleet standard holodeck bridge and control unit materializes. The doors swing open, and from the beige corridors of Eternal Nightmares beyond steps forth, wearing exactly the same tweed jacket and exactly the same deerstalker hat as Sherlock Holmes, but this time meticulously clean, but such that you can see directly that this jacket is just thrown over the uniform and insignia of a lieutenant commander in Starfleet. The gaunt and pale appearance of Data steps into the center, states, "Computer, resume program Data 1." The door dematerializes behind him, and he looks over at the corpse and goes, "Oh, fascinating."
It was like this when I got here. It wasn't me. I was here first.
Certainly.
The same door that the first Sherlock Holmes came in through opens again, and you hear a voice say, "Unbelievable, nobody here to meet the greatest mind of a generation. No, at least there's something interesting going on. Who are you two? Oh, I see. Yes, very good. Very good," he says, looking upwards, and then closes the door behind him and wanders over towards the body.
And then from an open window, you hear a conversation between two individuals. One, a clearly beleaguered, tired and frustrated, and the other apprehensive and slightly nervous. It goes a little something like this. "You know my methods. I've had it up to here with these rich bastards calling me out to every country house. I'm pretty sure there's an opium den down the side of the village. Get to it. I'll see you in a few hours." And the other man going, "I'm not quite sure. I suppose just this one time." And then in walks a man, definitely not Watson, definitely not Dr. Watson, introducing himself to the others. I'm Sherlock Holmes here. What appears to be the matter? Oh my.
It's pleased to meet you. There's a dead guy. I'm still sitting there, rifling through his pockets, making rather a large mess of all of the paint everywhere. What on earth? And as I clearly am not finding anything in his pockets. My hands are covered in this red paint. I sort of smear it on his trousers, trying to get it off my hands. And as I do, through the open door runs a black and silver snub-nosed Shih Tzu, which may or may not have been one that has already been implicated in a murder today, runs through the doorway and through the track of red paint, leaving a little trail of footprints behind it as it goes to hide under the table. So, that's weird. He's got a dog. He brought a dog with him. Maybe the dog did it.
Seems very unlikely a dog that size would have difficulty overpowering a normal human male.
Then maybe whoever did it brought their dog with them.
Quite. If I may take a look. Sherlock steps over to the corpse and kind of has a rummage, and in one of the pockets that Sherlock didn't look in, produces a small list, a piece of paper that has been somewhat suspiciously torn down. The center says, "Oh, it appears to be a grocery list. But that's unusual. There seem to be quite some unusual items here. Red paint, rope, 6 kilograms of thumbtacks. These are not normal shopping items whatsoever. In fact, they seem consistent with the configuration of the trap that we have seen on some of the others in the area.
This is certainly, I would say, much more interesting than the presence of a dog, and the idea that perhaps the dog is responsible for laying out what is clearly a relatively intricate trap system. It'd be similar to you suggesting that perhaps a child had done this. That would be ludicrous. May I? Wait a minute. He stops as he's wandering over toward the body and looks at the fireplace. Did anybody notice the bust of Queen Victoria up there with a plaque that simply says "Yas"?
No. No,
I
didn't.
noticed it, but I had assumed that given this program is already running with more than the statutory number of Sherlock Holmeses, that it was simply another glitch in the matrix.
Perhaps it tells us something about the owner of the property. Do we believe that this person here is the owner of the property, or has anybody met the owner? Perhaps this can tell us a little something about them. And
I'm quite surprised you couldn't deduce for yourself who they are. You can see from the man's shoes of a brown leather that the only person who would wear such a shoes in a room such as this would be either the owner's brother-in-law or their second cousin. And, may I say, you appear to have also noticed this, I say, pulling a broken sword out of the chest of the man. This broken broadsword aligns with pulling out a notebook. Yes, a few years ago. A story I once heard off a woman in a small caravan travelling through selling wares in East Derby. She said one day a broken broadsword would be linked to a murder, and that would be the making of the Earl of Salford. Now, what can we deduce apart from a brother-in-law in a manor house and the Earl of Salford? I think that's obvious.
Does that make you the Earl of Salford because you just pulled the sword out?
No. No. Unless. No, it's quite clear to me. You see, what must have happened is what would you say? What must have happened was some attempt to bring about this event. Perhaps the man fell on his own sword.
Interesting.
I really don't feel that this is an adequate method in order to decide who should wield supreme executive power. The handing out of swords seems ludicrous.
Yeah, and I don't get why he'd have a sword when he'd have this. And I reach into his pocket and pull out a black and silver snub-nosed revolver. And kind of then go on to explain, while waving it wildly in the air, occasionally pointing at people for emphasis, and say, there's no point in having a sword to determine who's the Earl of whatever if you've got a gun, because the gun would win in a sword fight. And that is why you never take a dog to the paint. My point is, the sword was probably ceremonial because it looked quite fancy and is probably very expensive. But it's a much less efficient method than a gun. And why would you bring a sword if you intended to kill someone if you had a gun in your pocket?
Damn, you're right. This is only a ceremonial sword. That's the third time I've done this with the sword thing.
Yeah,
Do
you can always
we-
tell because they're always really fancy and not usually that sharp, but they always end up inside of someone somehow anyway.
Do we believe that there is anything in the similarities between the dog and the revolver? You may have noticed that both are black and silver, and both could be described as snub-nosed.
That is a very good point, I say, waving the gun in Sherlock Holmes's face. Like,
Black and silver, they are always associated with a certain kind of peculiar character, of which I, in my recollection of cases, only know two types. The brother-in-law, as I said, and also the man obsessed with women's underwear. Those are the only two that favour black and silver coloured things.
and if I had a dog and I went to get a gun, I would probably get a gun that matched the dog.
Sherlock will step over and just kind of rummaging around some of the ephemera in the trap as well, and go, "Whoa, curious!" And from the paint, he will pull out a small object obscured by the paint, and he will kind of get rid of it by wiping it away on the thing. And it is a small golden statue, which seems to be Pinocchio. This is unusual. The symbolism here is highly dense. I wonder also. Very interested to see on the back of this ceremonial broadsword a very intricate and detailed, likeness of a bat, and kind of proffer it to everyone.
Ooh. I sort of put my hands all over the sword, smearing it in red paint, which you probably can't tell with all of the blood that's already smeared on it. But I smear paint all over that bat boy. Yeah, that wasn't the best.
I mean, it's nice enough, but I'm not sure of the relevance. I shall continue my search. Now here we have something. They say, don't they, that timing is everything. And here, from round the side of one of the balls of potpourri, holds up a banana. One will note, of course, that this is the perfect level of ripeness for a banana. Could this be coincidence? I, for one, do not believe in coincidence. So, no. It is my belief that this banana is the real treasure. Perhaps the cause behind all of this. The banana was being saved by its owner for this precise moment. He was concerned that somebody would come and try to take it from him, perhaps a paranoid delusion or perhaps reality. And so he constructed these traps here to keep him safe, keep the banana safe. And perhaps he himself has fallen afoul of his own traps in his need to get to the banana at this perfect moment of ripeness.
Incredible that you could miss something even more obvious. Have you not thought to consider the books in this library? Look, what I have noticed, and I say, picking from between two large volumes, a number of pages, a script, a play, even. An appall. It is a. This is bad. This is really bad. No, one of the main characters appears to be called Siddharfunkel, and oh no, but I can bet. I don't know even really wish to show you the script because really it's painful even looking at it. But I must, and I sweep aside some of the food on the table and lay out all of the pieces and say, now look, you can see, although this really appalling piece of work appears to be set in some foreign country, I don't know which, somewhere perhaps maybe in Eastern Europe, maybe one of you can tell. What is more important is look at the shape of the S's. You can see here the flick at the end. Now the character on this, a man who writes with such S's, with such a flick, is always unfailingly the recipient of some unrequited love that burns deeply inside them. The kind of jilting that you get when this S, and also notice the P with a low dip. In this case, it is as clear as I don't even need to explain to you any more than that, although the other clues are apparent, that this man was in love and had those loves rejected, and that he was angry about it. And we don't know that you can see this is very well, but the location, I'm not so sure on. Maybe some of the place names, I think somewhere. Do any of you have any experience living in this part of the world?
It's definitely set in Transylvania.
Oh, yes. I should have remembered from my time in the. I mean, from my colleague Watson's time in the wars, he travelled often, and well, the rest is clear. The story tells itself, although it is a truly appalling story, as I'm sure you can see.
So we've got a play, we've got a bad play, we've got a load of paint, we've got a sword, and we've got a gun, and we've got this silver candlestick, which I'm gonna take as evidence. I just sort of stick it in my coat and just look at that later. And oh, look, what was that hiding beneath the candlestick? And I hold up what had been. It looked like it had been stuck to the bottom of the candlestick with a small amount of paint, like dried paint, had kept it on. Like a ripped fragment of a handkerchief, a very tacky looking handkerchief, to be honest. Not one that anyone in high society would want to be seen with. But I go, this handkerchief was covered in paint, which means someone wiped paint off on it. And it wasn't obviously the dead person because he was dead. So it must have been whoever set up the paint can over the door. Because this wasn't an accident. Someone was obviously trying to lay a trap. They must have known that this guy was going to do whatever it was he was going to do with the sword and the gun. And they were intending to stop him from getting this far and turning up and spoiling their dinner with his sword and his gun. And they laid the paint trap in order to do so. And then when they got paint all over the handkerchief, they tried to hide it under this fabulous candlestick that I'm going to take for evidence.
Did you say it was silver?
Yes. Quickly take it out. Look at the bottom. Yeah, it's definitely silver.
Also fascinating. I have been examining the traps here, and one thing that confuses me is I take out what appears to be a really sketchy looking, like clearly bought in a service station in some rush, kind of egg and cress sandwich that you should not be eating out of a service station. Whoever set this trap was in a rush and not local to the area. Another thing I have been doing is analyzing the composition of the paint, and it seems not to be normal. In fact, it seems to have been imbued with garlic. And I will kind of wave the paint around, the rest of the paint can around. It's actually quite pungent.
Oh,
why would you put garlic in paint?
I hadn't noticed over the smell of the potpourri, but yes, that's quite something.
Yes, I
Ugh.
agree. The potpourri is overpowering. Oh.
I'm going to grab one of the potpourri dishes and stick it into the other side of my jacket to try and wade off the smell of garlic.
A smart idea, Sherlock.
Yeah. Thank you.
There seems to be a lot of different variables involved in this situation. I'm having some trouble finding a reasonable explanation for the series of events here.
Well, have you ever thought about maybe going out in the sun and having a think about it? You do have a bit of a thing going on.
Actually, my nanoplastined overframe does not react well to direct exposure to vitamin D and to the sunlight that carries it.
Oh.
I have the exact same condition. How strange.
Funny enough, so do I. Good thing it's
Were you
nighttime.
rolling the same dice? Like, literally. You can have different dice.
There's so many suspicious quirks, I've lost track of everyone.
I'm going to dig into one of the pockets of the victim and go, aha!
Holmes, what have you found?
This, excuse me. That was strange. felt like my good friend Watson was here, but no. We now, gentlemen, have a matching pair of black and silver snub-nosed revolvers. This truly is noteworthy, I feel.
What a
Similar
Perhaps.
to the old Earth custom of dueling pistols.
May I, for a moment, please indulge me. As my fellow Holmes with a similar voice over there suggested, perhaps this is a spurned lover, unrequited love, and perhaps these two pistols were bought as some kind of matching pair, like his and hers pistols, perhaps. And perhaps it is only recent that the spurning has taken place and the pistol has been given back to our poor man here. Maybe it is his ex-lover who has chosen to dispatch him in this manner.
Interesting, most interesting. His and hers pistols. Who would have thought it? I've not seen that one before. But although that is an excellent point, I have here another half of a sandwich. And if you yes, the flavors in this sandwich truly are overpoweringly strong. And no jilted lover, no woman would eat such a vile and disgusting sandwich. Women have the very most sensitive sensibilities, you'll find. And they, yes, I think it could not have been the lover that murdered this man, but in fact, the ex-lover's new lover. But I think maybe all of this is not really relevant just now, because I can't help but notice, morbidly strange Sherlock, that you appear to be a creature of the night. I say, pointing at the Sherlock above me.
What? No. How dare you? What?
And by that I mean a vampire, not just a homeless vagabond.
Oh, that. Right. No, I'm not. No, I just like bats.
Oh,
Just-
right.
I can't stand the smell of garlic.
I'm quite partial to it myself.
Well, can I have the rest of that sandwich?
Of course, it's actually quite nice. Passing
Excellent.
it over.
Right. Well, I'll take this, and I'll take this. I say, waving the candlestick and the gun. I'm gonna go, but if you want to start pointing fingers about vampires and creatures of the night and monsters and horrible forces of evil, then maybe you should look at that one over there.
Excuse me.
Yeah, excuse you.
How dare you? I am the greatest mind of a generation. You are aware of this, aren't you? People do not seem to be aware of the fact that I am the greatest mind of a vampire of a generation.
You said it.
Oh,
Said it.
fine. Yes, fine. But it has nothing to do with the fact that I'm the greatest mind of a generation. That's separate. It does not help me in any way. That is separate. I am the greatest mind of a generation who also happens to be an undead creature of the night. They are separate things. Okay? Anyway, I've solved all of this, so you can stop worrying. I'm not going to. I feel like as a fellow me, it would be strange for me to attack you as I, the way that I do. So you're safe. So don't worry.
Good. Had the doctor tell me my blood's not good for anything anyway.
Yes, I can quite imagine. So, would you like to hear from the greatest mind of a generation?
Yeah.
Your voice is terribly familiar. Anyway, I keep expecting you to suggest something to me that's ludicrous and pointless and stupid, but anyway. So, this man here, you may not have noticed, but he is the man in this painting here, the portrait above the fireplace. Thus, I deduced, as soon as I arrived, that he was the owner of the house. I just wanted to see whether you all had. He does have... Well, no. He has spurned a lover. The writing is that of his ex-lover, and in the divorce settlement, he got the play, hoping that it would be well written. Oh, how wrong he was. Oh, how wrong. Its only saving grace is that it was based in Transylvania. So, it was foretold that this sword would be relevant to the man. That was a part of his downfall, as was his long-lasting desire for the perfectly ripe banana, which he has been preparing here around the potpourri. The pungency of the potpourri is believed to assist in maintaining bananas at a perfectly ripe age for slightly longer. It gave him a slightly bigger margin for error.
It also makes it taste funny, I say,
Quite right.
halfway through the banana.
And that's why the sandwiches. He was constantly ensuring that his taste was ready for the task when that perfect banana was ready.
Very good. I was expecting...
You're right.
Sorry.
The guns were in fact his and hers, but again, he had taken hers from her as he had taken so much else in the settlement. He also including the drag queen bust there on the fireplace. That was hers, and the golden figure of Pinocchio. So downstairs he comes, holding, as he does, his ceremonial sword, expecting at any moment for it to grant him something, or for somebody to appear, and if he were not prepared, perhaps his fate would be stripped from him as he had stripped the fate from his ex-lover. He did not realize that these traps had been set, and they were not meant to kill, only cause harm and embarrassment, as he had caused embarrassment to her. But as he walked through this door frame and the paint can swung down, it hit his clenched fist and drove what was only supposed to be a ceremonial sword with such force into his chest that it ended his life. The main giveaway, of course, is the dropped shopping list. Without that, we couldn't have put it all together. But she has clearly been planning this. Go on, my fellow Sherlock.
So at this, I think one of the guests at the table, who turns out to be the jilted lover,
Have they been here the whole time?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the
Right,
full
okay.
table of guests.
Cool, great, good.
Screams an obscenity and tries to dash out the far door into an adjoining parlour and make good on her escape.
And I will dive on her with inhuman speed.
And I will steal a chicken leg from the table while everyone's looking away. And another candlestick.
Well, it's about time I'm off. It normally takes him this long. I must say I've really enjoyed meeting all of you, Sherlock. Certainly something to think and write about, certainly. I must say, in my universe, Sherlock Holmes is a much more intelligent, handsome, and witty man. But it's interesting to see, at least, that I'm not missing out by being somewhere else.
I'll say, excuse me, I am the greatest mind of a generation, as blood is going. I'll look up like that.
Indeed. Well, it was nice meeting you. And with that, I'll step out.
Well, he was a bit full of himself, wasn't he?
All that remains now is to inform the relevant authorities of the act.
Right. Well, that's my cue to leave, gentlemen. Good day, and always beware of the dark, horrible forces of darkness encroaching on the. It's just a stream of consciousness as I back out of the door.
You hear a loud screeching sound as a flock of bats flurries past you and out of the house.
The Data will just turn to the room and go, computer freeze program, bridge. The door will open and he will leave, almost imperceptibly tutting as the door closes behind him and dematerializes.
Excellent. And thus ends the second case file of For Sherlock Holmes and a Vampire who's also one of the aforementioned Sherlock Holmes. Out of curiosity, as once again, Chris, someone who didn't get accused, were you a vampire?
I was not a vampire this time.
Good.
Good. Because if you'd gotten away with it twice,
Yeah, it would have
that'd have been...
Am I correct that you stop once somebody has been accused? So if there are two, the other one will just get away with it?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's the same.
thought so.
It's kind of. I think. Well, it seems to suggest that you assume that everyone else is also a vampire as well. They got away with it. But yeah, cool.
Fantastic.
What a delight.
So I think, yeah, that seems like a good place to close the book on the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Thank you very much for joining us. We hope everyone had fun. Are there any comments or questions from the chat? Are there any clues that we left out? Are there anything else? Any murders anyone wants to admit to in
Could
the
you
chat?
go through?
Please don't.
Could you go through any while we wait for chat to populate? Could you go through the hat and just cover off any other amazing suggestions that we didn't get around to?
There was one that I was really hoping was going to come up, because if that came up and with one of the clues, it would have been excellent.
Ooh.
Especially if, yeah.
So we have one that I threw in, which is one that I threw in, which is at a wedding. We have on a commuter train at rush hour. We have a building site. We have a scrapyard. We have in a time machine, which we kind of did.
That was the one that I was thinking. If you got that and then got a picture of somebody in a DeLorean,
That would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
Especially if the time machine wasn't a DeLorean. If it was like a TARDIS or something. We have Beachy Head, which I actually had to Google. It's a chalk cliff in Sussex.
It's also, isn't it a famous suicide spot?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would make sense.
It's the kind of things you pick up while following around the actual greatest detective.
We have At a Funeral, which I was a big fan of. And we have... Oh, there's two. They were stuck. In the Moors, presumably the misty moors in the middle of the night, and in a spooky fun house. And that is all of our suggested murder scenes. Thank you very much to our patrons who suggested those. If you would like to provide suggestions for any future questions that we have, suggesting character names or giving guidance on what one-shots you want to see next, then join us on our Discord. Generally follow us on social media, like, subscribe, click the things, comments, interaction, ratios, engagement. Yeah, nailed it.
Great job, John.
John, get out of character of your previous Sherlock Holmes quickly.
Couple of questions. This one from 4242. How was the resolution of the murder determined? Does the vampire just make it up at the end?
They deduce it
Yes.
using their excellent intellect. It's
Yes.
apparent.
Ow.
Which is like the hardest part, actually, if you're the one who's stuck having to explain it and try and get all these absolutely unhinged threads to be even remotely coherent. It's wonderful.
I don't think you have to explain all of it. I think like other players can
chip in.
Yeah. I guess some of it's going to be red herrings, right? As any good mystery story has.
Yeah. That was good.
No, that's not true.
Oh,
There's no red herrings.
We could have done a really good bit about the guns actually belonging to Chekhov.
I was
real good.
I was kind of disappointed that Justin accused someone when he did, because I rolled for my next clue and it was another revolver. I was going to be like, mate, you won't believe this.
One triangle.
When I rolled for this other half of the sandwich, I was like, yes, it's great. This is really good.
It's brilliant. 4242 again. Androids can't be vampires.
That was exactly the tact I was going for if someone accused me.
What else have we got?
Yeah. Although Pierre actually had the fake makeup blood on his face, which was excellent, I actually cut myself shaving in the rush to do this to myself. and so very nearly did have blood on my face for that reason. Oh.
We have this from Night Bites. There's been a murder, doesn't sound right unless it's been said by Taggart. Taggart?
Taggart.
Yeah.
Wow, that's dated everyone. Thanks, John. That's alienated everyone under the age of God 7,000.
But I did also like that Night Bites was concerned that none of us would understand it.
Yeah.
It's quite a compliment. We're fine, Night Bites. Everybody knows it's okay.
We're all so old.
From Steve, anyone going straight from this to Vason is going to get whiplash. Yeah, you've got about 24 hours to try and get ready for the tone shift.
I'm actually planning on using these tables for the game tomorrow.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Fantastic.
I think this is what I should always dress like for Modeling Forsmark, because it's pretty good.
Also, massive shout out to to this one page game, which has been a delight and came from, I think, the Trans Rights for Texas bundle.
Yes,
last year.
And I think I haven't actually checked, but I've a feeling it might be in the Trans Rights for Florida bundle coming up. But if it's not in any of the bundles, then it is also only $2, which is a fantastic price for the amount of fun we've gotten out of it so far.
That is true.
So, yeah, I heartily recommend it.
Another resounding endorsement for these itch.io TTRPG charity drive bundles. They seem to have a lot of good stuff in them.
Yes. And I think the next one is due. It's currently live for people who want their work considered for the bundle. And I think it's due for people actually buying it from, I want to say, the 25th of November. Does that sound right, Chris?
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, going to be
submissions until the 12th.
That's it.
So I think it's a couple of weeks.
This will be the Trans Rights for Florida bundle, which we will post about in our Discord. We do have a Kickstarter recommendations page that is our busiest page because we're all addicts and need help. But yeah.
So yeah, thank you very much to everyone for. Oh, I forgot about actual subs because we had a hype train going at the beginning.
Oh, sweet.
We have had a resub from Lord Malice, Azimuth, ATCB Gaming, and Night Bites. And I think we also didn't give a shout out to Joko Lamarco in our last stream, who has followed us in the past week or so. So thank you to them. Thank you to everyone. And we will see you hopefully tomorrow for a very different type of game. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
And guard your necks.